Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Loomis. This is my first edition of Chew Digest Live. It is a diary, I guess you could say, representation of my life. I just wanted to do this to start a new habit to see where it might lead. Um, I'm I live in Los Angeles. I'm currently a student at Arizona State University online and studying applied nutrition and health. Love all the STEM classes, the mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, um, anatomy and physiology, biology, all that stuff. No, nobody ever said that. But nonetheless, it's one of those things that we have to do to uh, get to where we want to get to in life. I wanted to start this diary format so that I could really get used to it. It's like the other day I told my nephew when I was talking to him about a business that he and a partner were starting that, uh, there's really nothing to it but to do it. If you want to do something, you need to start doing it and just get over whatever is keeping you from being able to really, I guess, get started. And I think that's probably one of the most scary things about doing anything the first time is just doing it. I previously, for my associate's degree, was a communications major. I still consider myself a communications major, even though now I'm studying nutrition and health. From here, I'm going to uh, probably go for a master's degree in medical nutrition, possibly even a PhD, but that's kind of planning far ahead in the future for where I'm at now. Uh, but I just wanted to share a little bit about myself because I, I guess, in some sense, how are y'all going to get to know me if I don't tell you who I am, what I'm about? My my main goal in life is to solve the problem of aging. And what do I mean by that is that we as humans have the ability to live to be 120 years of age, but for whatever reason, we're failing miserably to get there. The I think right now, currently, the average age lifespan, not even health span, but lifespan for human beings here on Earth is 78.5 years, which, quite frankly, is almost failing if you consider the fact that we can live to be 120 years of age and maybe even a little bit more. The the way I'm approaching it is that we should have some way to figure this problem out, and yet we haven't done it. And it doesn't even matter really. I don't want to say it doesn't matter how we eat, because clearly there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of different ideologies that would disagree with me. And what I'm trying to say by that is I have not, in my 7 or 8 years of studying lifestyle, diet, uh, and things that we can do as human beings, whether it be supplementation or so-called anti-aging drugs. What is there that we can do to actually improve the outcome and add more years to the end of our life? Well, maybe we're all born with 120 years inherently, and we have simply been living life in such a way that we're actually subtracting years off the back end. In other words, it's kind of like we're borrowing more energy or clock cycles now, but where are we getting them from? We're not borrowing them from a bank. We're taking them from the end of our life. Maybe? I don't know. Anyways, over the last 7 or 8 years, I have, I've tried virtually every single diet, everything, all the way from eating, going back like 9 years, 10 years ago now, when I was just eating pretty much a standard American diet, just all the dumpy stuff we shouldn't be eating anyways. And I slowly worked my way from there. I moved to a keto diet, and then over time, as I started studying things more, I cut out beef and pork, and then eventually chicken and turkey, and all I was really left with was cheese and eggs. And eventually I thought, well, I'll try being a vegetarian, and then ultimately vegan. And then I even went so far as to uh, eating fruit only, which, quite frankly, eating a fruit only diet it is restrictive, and it's eating a lot, mainly because you're no matter how much you eat, you're kind of hungry all the time, hungry or hangry, one of the two. And I did that for, gosh, quite a while. And then, I will say this, with exception of hummus, I never gave up hummus because I really liked hummus. And I also had salads in there too. But eventually I added back in more vegetables aside from just eating fruit, and did that for another couple of years. And then for the life of me, I walked back into my mom's house, my parents' house, and I smelled an egg that had just been cooked. And I thought, that's it, man. I'm having an egg. I did, and that was the best tasting egg I ever had in my entire life. And so I reincorporated eggs back into my diet. I added back in some cheese, some using, I think it was raw farms dairy, sharp cheddar, and slowly but surely I added more and more animal based foods to my diet just to see how I would respond. And I actually added back about 15 or 20 pounds back to my body mass. I look better, feel better than I ever did. Uh, and, overall, I even, a little over a year ago, I decided, well, I've tried every other diet. Why not try a carnivore diet? And I gotta tell you, that's a rough road to hoe. I did that for about 6 weeks, and I kind of got to the point where I really, really, really wanted a salad. So I had a salad, and glad I did. I've started adding back in a handful of other things, and now my body has gotten to a point where I'm always running a steady 165 pounds at 5'11", and I'm virtually at a point where I cannot do hardly anything to make my body move 1 pound up or down. I'm a healthy individual. As far as I can tell, I get out and I walk about 4 to 5 miles every morning. I work out with some light weights. I don't overdo it. I do spend some time in the gym, going into the hot tub, the steam room, and the sauna. I did try doing the sauna thing every day, 7 days a week, and I did that for about a little over 2 years. But eventually, I got to a point where I felt like I was needing to take a break. It the results weren't the same as what I was hoping they would. It felt like the beneficial curve was kind of tapering off, if you will. And since then I've added back in utilizing a rebounder. I love that. I also got one of those whole body vibration plates. That thing is awesome. I use those every day for the most part. And I get a lot of really good quality sleep. At least 8 hours a day. Hold on a sec. I do my best to observe a good high quality circadian rhythm. Try to line up my sleeping and waking times with the sun. I mean, why not? Seems like that would be the natural thing to do. And, I'm just doing everything I can to figure out the best way to get to 120 years of life. And I'm trying to live that life as an example. I figure if I can't do it, well, that's not going to look very good to people that I might be trying to convince in the future. I'm 53 years of age, and I figure, I do truly believe I can live to be 120 at least, and that is my goal in life. And I figure if that's the case, I've got almost another 70 years to live. So I've got quite a bit of time ahead of me to figure out this problem. And so I currently live a life where I have a lot of time available to me where I can put these, I can chew up these ideas up here and I can catalog them. And I post my thoughts over on my website, chewdigest.com. Once again, that's chewdigest.com. And I write there. I've had that website up for I think about 8 years now. And originally I got that name because not because it had anything to do with chewing or digesting, but it was more about the idea of taking the ideas that I had been chewing on, ruminating on, and the things I had been digesting, and then keeping a long running digest of those things. And so that brings me back here to where I'm at today. Why am I doing this? Well, like I told my nephew, nothing to it but to do it. And so my plan is to get on here, every day if I can. I imagine I'm not going to be too legalistic about it. I'm not going to take myself too seriously and say I'm going to do this every single day and then eventually run out of steam. I previously was a podcaster for 3.5 years, back from like 2009 to 2012. And I got to tell you, it's very easy to get burnout as a content creator. But nonetheless, I want this to be a place where my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids can come back many years in the future and just look at videos of me to better understand who I am. And, I'm already a grandfather. I have 2 children and I have 3 grandchildren. And I really kind of want to leave uh, a record of who I am for the future. Sometimes artists are not recognized as artists until long after they've left this realm. And if that's the case, I want to leave proof that I was here. And so that's what this is all about. And I will be seeing you guys more in the future. Until then, I'm not going to sit here and babble. I'm just going to go ahead and log off. And hopefully, this will be the beginning of a long journey of daily journaling my journey through my studies of aging. And, maybe it'll help some people out there. And at the very least, it will help me build up a new habit that can help me improve my broadcasting skills, especially on a camera. I do have a voice made for, or I'm sorry, I have a face made for radio. I'm not the hot, influencer dude with big muscles. I'm not the beautiful blonde girl that's trying to convince you to eat just mangoes only or bananas only. But anyways, that's it. Checking off for this Tuesday, February the 17th, 4:11 p.m. from Southern California. Michael Loomis here on Chew Digest, Day 1.